Welcome to today's lesson on how some organisms can reproduce using both sexual and asexual methods. In today's lesson, we will explore how some organisms can switch between sexual and asexual reproduction, depending on their circumstances. We will look at specific examples such as malarial parasites, fungi, and certain plants to understand these reproductive strategies better. So far, you have learned what sexual reproduction is, involving two parents and mixing of genetic material, and what asexual reproduction is, involving a single parent and producing identical offspring. This foundational knowledge sets the stage for us to introduce the concept of organisms that can utilize both methods of reproduction based on environmental conditions or other circumstances. Understanding how organisms can reproduce using both methods is essential because it advances our biological understanding of adaptability and survival. It provides insights into how these organisms can optimize their reproduction strategy to enhance survival and spread, which has significant implications for fields such as medicine, agriculture, and ecology. Let's get started. Today, we will explore how some organisms have the remarkable ability to reproduce both sexually and asexually, depending on their circumstances. This flexibility provides them with various survival advantages. We will focus on three examples: malarial parasites, fungi, and certain plants. Malaria is a disease caused by Plasmodium parasites, which are transmitted by the bites of infected female mosquitoes. Understanding the life cycle of these parasites illustrates how they employ both sexual and asexual reproduction. When a mosquito bites a human, it injects Plasmodium parasites into the bloodstream. Inside the human host, these parasites invade liver cells and red blood cells. Here, they reproduce asexually, rapidly increasing their numbers by cloning themselves. This leads to the symptoms of malaria, such as fever and chills. Some of the asexually reproduced parasites in the human blood develop into sexual forms. When another mosquito bites the infected human, it ingests these sexual forms. Inside the mosquito's gut, these forms reproduce sexually. This sexual reproduction creates genetic variability, aiding in the parasite's survival and adaptation to evade the immune system of its human hosts. Now we understand how malaria parasites reproduce both sexually and asexually. Let's look at fungi. Fungi are another group of organisms that can reproduce both sexually and asexually. Their ability to switch between these modes of reproduction enables them to adapt to varying environmental conditions. Many fungi produce spores asexually. These spores are lightweight and can easily be dispersed by air or water. When conditions are favorable, the spores germinate and grow into new fungi that are genetically identical to the parent. This method is quick and ensures rapid colonisation of a substrate. Under less favorable conditions, fungi may reproduce sexually, creating spores that are genetically diverse. This genetic variation equips the fungi with better resilience to environmental stresses, disease, and changing conditions. Sexual spores are formed through the fusion of two different mating types, resulting in offspring with combined genetic traits. Now let's move on to plant reproduction. Most plants are known for their ability to reproduce sexually through the formation of seeds. However, many plants also have the capability to reproduce asexually, which can be advantageous in stable and favorable environments. In sexual reproduction, plants produce seeds via pollination and fertilization. The seeds contain genetic material from both parent plants, leading to offspring with varied traits. This genetic diversity is beneficial for adaptation and survival in changing environments. Several mechanisms allow plants to reproduce asexually, creating new plants that are clones of the parent. For example, plants like strawberries send out horizontal stems called runners. At the ends of these runners, new plants form, which are genetically identical to the parent plant. This allows for rapid spread and colonization of an area. Plants such as daffodils can produce new bulbs underground. Each new bulb grows into a new plant, identical to the parent bulb. This method ensures the survival and expansion of the plant in a given location. In today's lesson, we explored organisms that reproduce both sexually and asexually, focusing on malarial parasites, fungi, and certain plants. We recap the difference between sexual reproduction, which combines genetic material from two parents, and creates genetic variation, and asexual reproduction, where a single parent produces genetically identical offspring. We then examined how some organisms switch between these methods based on environmental conditions. For instance, malarial parasites reproduce asexually in humans to increase numbers rapidly and sexually in mosquitoes for genetic diversity. Fungi reproduce asexually through spores for quick spread, and sexually under unfavorable conditions for genetic variation. Certain plants, like strawberries, use runners for asexual reproduction to quickly colonize areas and seeds for sexual reproduction to adapt to new environments. These dual strategies offer pros and cons. Asexual reproduction allows rapid growth but lacks genetic diversity, while sexual reproduction enhances adaptability but is slower and more resource intensive. Overall, understanding these flexible reproductive strategies reveals how organisms like malarial parasites, fungi and plants thrive in varying conditions and informs our understanding of evolution and survival.